Thank you so much. Give you a second here because I like to look in the tweet. Yeah, because I don't know. I like to see the presentation. If something happened, it's very interesting to see if something happened. Yeah. So first of all, thank you so much for this time, this opportunity to talk to you and everybody. And yeah, my name is Felipe Pires, and today or in this morning or this night, I don't know exactly at the time are you watching, because here I'm talking from Brazil, by the way. So here it's almost 9 o'clock p.m. So, and today we're gonna talk about the pivoting and exploitation techniques or something like that in Docker environment, right? So, one important thing during our conversation is I would like to explain more about the pen testing techniques, because pivoting is a part of this action, you know, or this when I need to execute something or an pen test, pivoting is a technique inside of this pen test. So I will explain more about this during our conversation, right? So first of all, this is my contact in social media and Twitter and GitHub and Medium and LinkedIn. By the way, this is I like to use this social media. Sometimes I like to share in some. I like to share some, articles and news and something like that. Yeah, and yeah. So today I have been working actually in two companies, in a hacker security company and Zoop Innovation. Both of them are companies here in Brazil. And HackerSec, I am a global research manager, and Zoop Innovation, I'm research and security manager. By it means it's almost the same, rule in both of this company. But in hacker security, I am responsible to create some trainings, and I'm a founder of the malware analysis fundamentals. And by the way, I will talk about this in the channel Castellano tomorrow, or in this case, in this day in Guadalajara, yeah. And in Zoop Innovation, it's a technology company responsible to create many different open source products. Very, very interesting. I can share with you about the products. It's all those products are open source. It's very interesting because you can prove, you can test these products. It's very interesting, right? So here I have some articles that I wrote in my, in the past. The idea when I wrote this kind of articles, it's not explain about the 0 day, try hacking NSA or FBI or Europol. No, never. My idea when I publish some articles is to try explain more about the basis. That's my idea, right? And I explain, for example, here in a forensic magazine, I explain more about the Bookstructor tool. This is tool responsible to do many different investigations, the focus in forensic, right? And I wrote about the malware analysis. That's a topic I like a lot, right? So here we have another articles. I explain here about the one CV that I received the signature. It's very simple, right? So, but here in this explanation, these articles, you can see many different misconfigurations, and in this kind of halter. By the way, this halter is sold in Poland and in Czech Republic and Germany, if I remember correctly. By the way, I lived in Poland during 1 year. In the last year, I lived there. I worked there with pen testing. So this is a few information about me, but it doesn't matter in this moment, right? So during our conversation, I will talk more about what is pen testing. I will explain this task that I did in the past. I will explain about the pivoting techniques, and in the end, I will be open to answer some questions, right? So here, the first question, what is pen testing? It's very simple. You know, pen testing, it's a simulation, actually, a real world attack, right? So I'm not explaining deeply about this topic, but just to put all those in the same page, right? So by the way, it's a simple explanation about the security features. I can explore more about the application softwares and the systems or network. It is frequently, or it often involves this kind of simulation of the real attack, right? So this is a pen testing or penetration test, right? So usually when I need to offer some kind of service in some companies, we can provide some not a methodology but idea that we can apply in this company. So one of this type or this service that you can offer to the company is the first of all, it's black box. It's a similar behavior when the malicious guy, you know, the bad guy, try to explore some company because you don't have any information when you need to execute this kind of service about the company. For example, you just have the name of the company. So, for example, you have the name about Philippe company, you know. So you have this name and you need to explore. So the first of all, you need to make a research about this company, let's suppose. Yeah, and so you need to search information in a Google, maybe in a GitHub, in another different platforms. You need to, this is the first step. It's very, very important, in my opinion, of course. You need to enumerate many information about this company. So black box, you don't have any information, just the name, for example. You need to find if this company has a web application, if this application it was possible to explore or something like that, right? The another service is a white box. It's and on the other hand, it's totally different because you have the real scope. Or sometimes this kind of service it was offering inside of the company. So, for example, let's suppose in my company, like a Philippe company, I have one e-commerce to sell products, for example. So when the guy will execute this kind of service, I will sign, of course, the NDA, and this guy has some information about this application, about this API, or maybe this guy want me to try to do some, for example, networking pen test in a network, in my network. I will show all those my network inside my company. If I have different cloud providers, for example, I will explain all those information to the penetration tester guy, right? So white box, I have the information. Black box, I don't have any information. And gray box, it's a mixed, right, of those services. It's very simple, of course, just to everyone understand my explanation. So gray box, I have some information about the company, but not totally. For example, I know, for example, I can know about this company has a financial company. This company has a web service. This company has a kind of service of the law, financial law, for example, or to offering credit card. But I don't know if this company is implemented in on-premise environment or in a cloud environment. I need to search some information. So this is a mix of the information. This is a gray box service, right? So another service, it's not a service in this case, but when I talk to my customer and I know all those information I need to implementing, I chose all those information. For example, I will execute the black box. Sometimes, or maybe many of these times, this request is provided by your customers or your client or your, because they have this kind of idea. So I need to receive a black box service. So, right. So after that, you need to use some methodology. So we have many different kind of methodologies to apply the penetration testing, right? So the first of all, it's very common when you talk about the infrastructure or the penetration testing in all those infrastructure. Usually the penetration guys like to use the PFS. Yes, the penetration testing execution is standard. It's very common in many cases, right? So another is, in this case, in Petit, basically we have a 7-step, if I remember correctly, but you have 7 steps that you need to execute this kind of test. And the first of all, you need to using the reconnaissance phase, like enumeration, and you need to explore the victim, and you need to move laterally during the inside of the victim company, and using another kind of technique like a post exploitations, and in the end you need to prepare the report, right? So this is the first, usually it's depend of course of the company, but it's one of this methodology that you can use, right? So another one in OWASP. OWASP, I think it's very known for everyone. WASP is an organization responsible to provide many open source codes about the web application. It's very common OWASP top 10 that we have together 10 the top 10s of the vulnerabilities or exploitations. Every year, the OWASP provides this kind of top 10 kind of exploration or vulnerability to try. It's very common in many companies related, of course, in web applications, right? It's more related to web application projects, right? So this is the part of this pen testing. So now I just explain all those steps just to everyone understand. Okay, so just to understand, when I did this kind of pen test, it's not a real pen test in a company. When I lived in Poland, I made this kind of activity. Not one time, but once again, sometimes I made this kind of activity. I using the Hack the Box platform. I think many people that are hearing me now, probably the guys can be using this platform. It's very interesting to simulate a real scenario, so it's very interesting. So the first of all, in that case, I using the Nmap tools provided by, in this case, I using Parrot.os. It's a Unix platform to use the try and understand what the port it was open, if have some protocols, what kind of servers are executing that time. So that's the first step. They basically reconnaissance step, right? So I will show you a demonstration now. I will pause the video to explain this demo, because it was, as I mentioned, this is a past activity. Another thing, this machine, it was not available more, so it's not I can explain everything, because this machine it's not available to make point in a Hack the Box platform. So right, so here the first step is to try understand and enumerate many servers, as I mentioned before. Another thing that I like to do when I execute some pen tests is to try understand more about the application, but manually. I know maybe some people maybe looking at my steps and think, oh, it's very interesting, but Flip, I don't like to make it manually actions. I prefer, using tools, or it's easy for me. Code some tools, or I prefer to use many automatized tools. So, but I like to use this kind of manually. I know it's more maybe slow, but I like to look inside the details, right? So this is the first step. I will look in the platform, how many pages I can see, I can find inside this web application, how this pages, for example, can redirect, for example, the access, right? So I look in the blog, for example, if have many or one article, because usually when you have many articles, you can use to try using to SQL injection. For example, here I have the Facebook, Twitter, and Google, but not hit direction for the exactly page. It's like a fake page, right? So I will explain, understand the pictures, if have another redirection. I found here the contact form. So sometimes we can find some cross-site script inside this kind of form, because I can, send this form to the web server. So I can try manipulate something. Of course, I need to intercept this request to understand, but just a a few, few steps manually that I like to make during my penetration testings, right? So I continue to execute this kind of service, and I find, of course, the OpenSST, and I found here the version of the system operation. In this case, it's Ubuntu, right? And when I look inside of this step, I look in the two different, as you can see here, the TCP ports, right? So I have two different web services. First of all, here in port 8, I have the HTTP Apache, right? This version 2.2.4.29. And here I have another port. So probably I have another service running inside of the same environment. But in this, as I mentioned, this is like a black box because I just have the IP address in this case, right? So just have this kind of IP address. So here, when I put the port 880, I found here the first authentication process to access, right? So here it's very interesting when sometimes we need to make some pen testing, because this is it's very common problem and issue in many companies. I use in here the default password admin and admin, right? So as you can see here, the very top 10 OWASP top 10, it's a misconfiguration problem, right? So because I put in the default password and I can get the access, I got access inside this environment, right? So here, when you make some pen testing, it's very interesting when you find this kind of word. I think it's very interesting. So if you are pen testing now and you are, for example, hear me now, probably when you look at this upload, your heart maybe make a fire, because usually when you find something like that, the first thing that the penetration tester think is, I have the opportunity to upload something inside the server, right? So I just need to find now the path when I need to upload my file or my shell in this case to gain the access or to receive a reverse shell. So, but here we can see the first point. It's just I can upload the image. If you see the application, they're looking inside the application, you can see here for example, there's a macOS computer. You have here maybe a portfolio, a service, and blog and contact. So maybe you can suppose this company is probably it's a publicity company. But here we can see the zip file I can upload as well, not just an image, but I can upload the zip file. So here I can see the portfolio, another opportunities I can try explore, the contact. We have a form here, it's the same case. So here, as you can see, we have two applications. The blog, this is the first, and I have another application, as I show you here, the 88 port, right? So I will continue to execute my enumeration step. This is the first step, and this is very, very important when I need to explore, I need to execute some pen testing. As you can see here, I will be using the WFuzz tool. Usually when I make some pen testing, it's another characteristic that I have is to sometimes I like to use not just one tool, right? So I like to make a manual test. I like to use, for example, WFuzz. I like to use, for example, dbuster or GoBuster to enumerate many different all directories or maybe subdomain, of course, depending the domain, depending the URL, depending the IP address, or depending the many information that I have, right? So as you can see in my exploration, I have some problem during this demo. It's very interesting because sometimes we have this kind of problem. So I like to show not just the magic steps or the magic environment, but we have a problems where you forgot some commands. It's very interesting to understand all those steps. It's very important. So here, as you can see, I chose the dbuster directory. The word list provided by Dirbuster, it's different tools, as you can see. And I execute this command because the first step here is to try find some, by the way, I forgot this slash and fuzz here. And I need to try find any directory or available to try access for my machine, like attacker, right? So here we can see the response. By the way, I just put in the hide, the hide 44, the not access page, right? And here I just received the response for 2000 or maybe another response or this response for my request, right? So the first step to try access the archive directory, and here you can see interesting information. Let me return here because I think it's, let's suppose if I don't have any information when or if I don't know, I can execute, for example, any map. But when I using, for example, a WFuzz, I can find this kind of directory, right? And I put here, but I don't have a permission to access this folder, right? So, okay, so it's perfect, but here, as you can see, it's not a problem because I received the response of the web server that is executing inside this server, and I have here the Unix platform, right? So, for example, one of these things that we usually, when the penetration guys or bad guys, for example, try to explore something, the first step is I found here the version of the Apache. Okay, so I can put here, for example, an exploit DB and try find some exploit to try explore this application. For example, if I have any, if I find some exploit without or without authentication, I can try to use this, and I probably can get the access. Of course, if I have this version exactly, and if I can find, for example, any exploit to try explore it, right? So this is another misconfiguration error because I will show you, I am showing some information to the attacker or penetration guy in this case, right? So I will continue to try looking inside the environment. I have uploads. Uploads, it's very interesting because, you know, when I upload that file, as you can see, probably I can find this path to try look inside. So the same case, I don't have a permission to access here. But here, when I put users, take a look. I find here the Azure 3 members to login or logging, right? So no authorized access allowed. So by the way, I can access this environment, but here I found another. Probably this is a support page, right? So responsible to the support guys, I think. But if you can see here, just 3 members, not 4, not 5, not 6, just 3 members. Okay, so let's make a resume here. So we have an application, right? So, but I have another application running in port 8080, right? And I found here authentication page. In this page, in this case, for support guys, I know now that we have a folder with the name archives, another folder with uploads and image, but I don't have an access or I don't have permission to access this kind of page, right? So I will try to execute something inside of this page. So here I will try the same thing, like a default password or the full user, like admin, and bad, not accepted. I try root. It's possible in this case. No, it's not a possible. So I can't access in this moment, right? But I just have some important information, right? So I will continue making my enumeration steps. So I will use another platform. I like to use sometimes the Dirbuster platform. It's a very similar behavior, but here we can find another different results. Sometimes it's the same, sometimes different. And here, for example, I use in Dirbuster, and I found here the same or the similar page, right? And the similar response, right? So, but if you see here, I found, or in this case, I found some different pages. I found here the secret doc PHP page. So here I can see another application, in this case, PHP page. So I put here and try to access this page to try and understand what this probably give some information. So here, take a look at the interesting information. So here we have a page. Probably this page is provided by the support guys. I don't know much, but probably I am supposed, right? So probably that application that we accessed before, this page is probably is part of this application, because here we have the name. Take a look, Azure 3 Secret Chat, right? So this is a chat inside of that application here, members area, but I don't have access inside of this application, right? So probably because if you see here below, it's right here, chat is unavailable at the moment. So probably it's, I'm supposing now, right? So maybe it's kind of, I don't know, maybe kind of screenshot in some moments, maybe to save this kind of print to you know, auditory service or something like that inside this company. So when you can access this, you can find some interesting information. So here we can see some names. Here you can find the Tatara, this first name. Here you can find Anoro, another guy. Here we can find the Kanek guy, and here Eto guy. So here we have 4 guys, right? Tatara, Noro, Kanek, and Eto. So this is a 4 guys. In this case, Azure 3 secret chat. It's not a person, you know, or maybe the structure. So let's suppose something. So this is probably is a structure of the secret area, right? So, but we have here, it's clear that we have 4 support guys. I am imagining, right? So, but you can take a look more inside of the conversation, because sometimes when you make some pen testing, you can find many, you know, kind of tips inside the conversation, inside the folders. You can find many interesting tips, right? So here, let's take a look. So here we found a conversation, and here we have the information about the conversation. Says that we have a low key for sometimes, and here the Kanek says to Tatara, Toka told me that there is a RCA, a remote code execution. This is probably it's a very problem inside the company. What's the web dev doing? Probably the security guy putting, you know, the problem in this web guy, in the development guy, right? It's very common in the security area. It's unfortunately, and I don't agree with this kind of opinion, because I understand that, you know, the develop team guy needs to work together with the security guys. I think it's the better way. And here, the continued explanation of the Kanek says, also, please replace the file service with VSFTP ASAP, right? So, because it's not a good to use it, because we can have some problem with the RCA, right? So, and Eto respond about, shit, I better get to work. Also, guys, I found this file, user.txt, on desktop with contents. So this is the number, this is the hash, right? And if you play Hack in the Box, probably you try using this in this user text, because it's a flag during this CTF. But in this case, it's a reptihuli. It's not a true. It's a fake. It's a false, right? So, and this is make a question. Doesn't anyone know what it is? And here, Noro answer, it's impossible to get into our server, right? So, and before CCG tries will check the IP logs and eat them. So when I read here, I supposed in that time that probably Noro, maybe Noro was a network security guy, because as you can see here, Noro says, I'll check the IP logs. So if this guy will check all those IP logs, probably this guy is responsible for the network, right? And here he wrote some interesting information. By the way, Connect, I needed the access for your remote server. And here I have interesting, not a question, but an interesting point. Because here, as you can see, let's suppose this Noro is a network guy, but Connect has an important server here, because Noro requests access in remote server. Because if Noro is a network security guy or network sec, they know, or he know about all those IP addresses, right? But of course, he don't have any password, and he are requesting this kind of access. And the Connect answered here, I love Toka, and put like a gift, like a heart here. So here, of course, you don't know this information, but here is the password. So this conversation, it's happening some like a code, right? In codes between Noro and Connect, right? So here, and Connect says another thing. Eto, start the X server. I wish to connect and update the WP2. Also, guys, I've made a fake art site too that our members can upload CCG secretly. Please inform everyone. So here we have an interesting point inside this conversation, because take a look. Noro probably has a network guy, but Connect probably is an important guy inside this conversation, because he says many things inside of this conversation, right? So many times when you execute some pen testing, we need to look inside of this kind of informations around you, around the service, around the application, because you can find interesting points. I will show you during the demo some another interesting information. So here, the first step is to try to create a shell to try gain the reverse shell. Because here, as you can see, I will pause the demo again. Because if you remember, inside the application, we have an opportunity to upload a file, right? But the file is, I just can upload the file in zip file or in image file, right? If you see here, I am writing a PHP file, right? Maybe it's wrong, but it's a very common command injection technique. I will choose the name, not CMD in this case. So I create this PHP shell, right? I put in all those privileged access, and after that, I need to explain more how vulnerability I can explore in this case. In that moment, I made some research, and I found this vulnerability, a zip sleep vulnerability, right? So zip sleep, it's very known in that case, I think it's 2018, right? This is a very interesting vulnerability that having inside of this application. So vulnerability is over there. Zip sleep, it's a spread critical archive extraction vulnerability, allowing attackers to write arbitrary files on the systems, right, to result in a remote command execution. As you can see here, just using a crafted file or crafted archive in this case, this using a directory traversal file to setting this path, and you can set this information inside the application, as you can see here. So here we have many other informations about this kind of exploitation, right? So we will generate of this file. In my case, I using the shell.php, and when I execute this information, I can set here the path, the traversal path, right? and I put here in this case, when I show you in the demo, it's a temp evil doc sh file, right? Because this file, it was uploaded inside the temp file. But in my case, I upload this file in another way, another path. But Philip, yes, you have here the vulnerability. You found the vulnerability, but you need to write the code. You need to write some tools. You need to have this kind of tools to execute this. And here I found in this case in the GitHub, Everlock, as I wrote here in the demo platform, right? I will show you. It's very interesting. It's this platform. It's wrote in Python, right? So I will set here the Python 2.7 everlock.python. This is the script, right? I set my shell.php. I choose the Unix platform because the environment, you remember, it's Ubuntu, right? And I set here the path. In my case, I upload this file in var www.html/shell.php. If you think about the web application, usually this is the place when we can find many image, folders inside the web application. Usually, right? This is usually the correct path, right? So when I execute this kind of tools, I receive this file, the evil.zip file. So here I can upload inside of our victim machine, right? So after that, I upload this information inside our victim machine. And here, as you can see, I have the command execution, right? So here I'm inside our victim machine. So as you can see, this is the IP address, right? So here we have a class E of the network. But here below, when I get access inside the environment, I am in the class CB, right? 172.20, right? So I am inside of our victim machine. I set the same commands. I have the Unix Azure. This is the version of this platform. It's Ubuntu, as we found before, right? And here we can find many informations like index.html, right? So contact blog.html, the same information that we found when I execute the manually information, when I put my mouse inside of the above of the pictures or the URL, if redirect with something or not. We found here the secrets.php, the same page that we found in our enumeration step, in our beautiful shell here, and upload folders and users and something like that. So I am inside of our victim machine. As you can see, when I am inside of victim machine, I can execute, not inside, I can execute common execution in our victim machine, but I need to make a reverse shell. And after that, I can have, of course, after that, I can have the access inside our victim machine. So I did it in this case. So I executed using a Netcat platform, and I open a contact with me in this case. In that case, I have, of course, the www data user, not a root user on another kind of access. It's a simple access. But first of all, when you execute this kind of list of the information inside this directory or this folder, we can find here the Docker env. So here, the first step that you can see inside, and you can try find any information about the Docker environment. But I will start to thinking here, because I was in a web application. That is, the application was open to the internet, right? And this information is in a class E, the IP 10, doc 10, and blah blah blah. But when I get the access inside our victim machine, I am in another information. I am in the 172 in the class B, so it's different, right? So, and here I found the Docker env information. So I am inside of this Docker environment, but I need to understand more, because I found in the first enumeration the two ports using SSH protocol, and we have another. If you remember, when I explore, for example, now I am exploring the Victman machine, but the port here that I was explored, I made exploitation. It's application in port 88, right? Not in port 8 or port 443. By the way, I didn't have that. I didn't have the access in this port. Just 8 or 88, right? So I got access inside the port 88, and I have inside of this environment. So if I have this information here, I can try find many other informations, like if this server has some, SSH keys or another information inside. Here, I went in the same path as I show you in remote execution, and here we can find our shell and another information, right? So I was looking inside this, and I was thinking after this action, if I can upload my file, my shell inside any place of this environment, because of course, when I investigate something, but I don't have time to explain all those steps, I look in the permission that I have of this file when I upload something inside the application. And after this, looking this, I create my private key here, as you can see. My key, it's the name like a hacker, right? So I generate my key, and after that, I made the same process, right? So I need to generate another zip file. So here, it's my private key, and I need to upload my private key inside my Victman machine. So I set here the same path, the same command, python.2.7, everlike.p, py, and I set the system operation, and I set here the path of the when I will upload my key. If you see here, of course, I found this information because I did in my investigation, as I mentioned, I found this path available to see. So I found this path, root doc ssh and the authorized keys. So after that, I generate my key in a zip file, and I upload this information inside my Victman machine. So as you can see here, I can use the SSH protocol to access this environment, the real environment inside my Victman machine, and my access is like a root. I made a privilege escalation using the same vulnerability in the environment, right? So now I am inside the environment, inside this Victman machine, and I have root access. So I can see all those information inside of this environment, right? So here and now we're gonna talk about the pivoting techniques, because the pivoting techniques, it's a next steps. So I wrote this article talking about this kind of technique. And by the way, in this article, and I have the lab, because I'm using another lab. I create my own lab, and you can try. For example, if you read this article, you can copy this lab. You can try execute. You can test. You can improve your techniques using these. I explain about another tool, like the name is Chisel. You can try using this tool. It's very interesting. I forgot the name. I forgot the name. It's more. Well, anyway, when I remember, I explain. It's it's more fast. Yes, I remember. It's more fast. The seizure when you compare with another platforms, right? So pivoting techniques is the next step when you get the access inside the Victman machine. This is usually the first compromise system that we have now. We have this application, and this is the next step. So in other in other words, for example, it's basically the next step, like a jumping. If I need to move laterally inside the corporation, inside the network, I need to jump into the another machine because I have inside this machine, right? But I need to find, I need to research, I need to look in another networks if I have availability to access this another network. So pivoting technique is the next step. It's a jumping, for example, because I have, in this case, in this example, I am inside of this machine and I have the class B networks, right? So 172.20, this is the network that I have. But the first, I was in IP 10.10, it's a class B, but I need to find any difference. I can find, for example, the network 192, it's a class C, so I can find another Dockers inside the same environment. So if I have, for example, others Dockers, another Dockers can be are in I don't know 172.5 or 172.10. It's depending this network, so I can't access this another network. But if I would like to access this kind of network, I need to use this kind of technique to jumping inside of this network using a channel, my Victman machine. I use this Victman to get a channel to access another machine, right? So here I will show you some of these informations, right? Because I had the access. Of course, after my access with the root, I look inside many of these users and I find the connect access. So I will show you about the connect access, what information we can find here. And I access in by SSH here. And if you look here, I am in this machine 172.20.0.10, right? So this machine has access in this network. So okay, let's continue to looking inside of this application. Okay, I am listing information in the main folder, and here the first information that I found here, it's note.txt. So as you can see here, the vulnerability is, or better, we have information here. Vulnerability in GOGS was detected. So if you read here, probably we can, affirm that GOGS has a vulnerability. But until this moment, we not find any GOGS application inside this environment. So let's keeping this information with you because we will see in the future, right? So I shut down the registration function on our server. Please ensure that no one get access to the test account. So here I was start to think about it. So probably we have inside of this machine the test account. And if you see here, many times when I was system engineer in the past, when I made many POCs in the customer, many times I found many information in the desktop folder of the customer because you open a notepad text and you write some information and save because you need to remember another day, and many times you forgot to delete all this information, and sometimes you can write like a privileged information or like important information, because here we have a test account. So I was start to think maybe it's interesting because if this guy has a test account, maybe I can find something in this account, but I need to find this account. Okay, so another folder, another file that we have here, it's a notes, right? And here we find another interesting information. I've set up file server into the server's network. Take a look at this. So if you need to transfer file to the server, can use my PC. DM me for the access. So do you remember in that conversation in the chat that Noro, it's a network guy, do you remember? request access to remote server or to the remote desktop provided by Connect, right? So Connect is an important guy. And here, this guy says another information to a tool guy. Man, if you need transfer some file, use my PC. So this PC probably is the important server or personal computer inside this kind of application or this environment. And probably I can suppose that this PC has a test account, an important account. And here, as you can see, we have a two Leica nodes inside the main environment, and you can find important information in this case here. So, and of course, we can find many others information inside this environment. I will just put in this, I will pass this another information, and I will show the pivoting techniques demo. I think it's better. So here, I will show you these techniques in real environment. So if you remember, I have, and of course I need to come back here because I need to show you this information important. Sorry, I remember now this. So here, because I know that we have a Connect here, the guy, but I don't know what information I can find about the PC, the my PC account, and the for example, the test account, as I mentioned before. And here, as you can see, using this credential, the Connect credential, I access the backup file. I think you think this guy is it's so dumb, I know, because they have inside of the server the backup keys, the Eto backup, the Connect backup, and Noro backup, the three mainly guys from support, right? So here we will find interesting information. So here I will try access this information here, and as you can see here, I access in another information, the Connect Connect underscore pub at Connect slash all dash PC. So here we found the PC, private PC, responsible for Connect. And here we can see Connect underscore pub. This is the test account. So we found here the another PC, and we found another access, right? So if you set the configuration, the IF config, we found here another network. Take a look at this very interesting information. So here we found another Docker, because here we found the IP address 172.170. Do you remember another IP in the beginning? It's 10, just 10. It's not 150. So here I am in another Docker, right? But in this Docker, I have another port. I have two ports to access. But inside this, that is, I am in another Docker, and here I have the network to another environment, 17.18. So take a look. We have two different networks inside this Docker, but this Docker are inside a container, right? So we have many informations inside of this environment, because let's resume again. First of all, we have two different applications, right? So in this application, I set to external access. I have number 10, one class A, sorry. And when it got access inside the application, like web users, we got access inside the first Docker. Do you remember? 172.20.0.10. But when it got access to another Docker, like a Connect underscore pub, we have this another IP address, and of course, 172.20.150. And we have another Docker, 172.18.0.200. So The challenge here is I need to access this environment, but I don't have access to this environment. I just have access, not at this access, at this machine. I have the access, a connect. Do you remember a 172.20.0.10? This is my access, but I need to access inside this another Docker. How it's possible? It's possible using the pivoting techniques, as I will explain now about these techniques. So I have here the SSH. I will set here, I am setting here my private key. Do you remember? I generate here, it has a root, right? And here I using the port 2020, 22, sorry. And here I using this port to access, because I am using this protocol. It's default, usually this port. But I open in my machine the port 1717, right? And I set here this 172.20 doc 150. This is a container, like a host, you know, the mainly host container number, right? So I am using this port to access my machine, but I am opening my machine to listening or to receive some information in this port. So as you can see here, I set the configuration and I am inside this first Docker, right? So here, yes, I have the container, I have the Docker, and I need to access now the another application. So I will confirm my IP address, right? So I am in this network, the same network of the application to access, of course. So I am using different network. So how it's possible I access another, you know, another range, because I don't have a route. I don't have a route to access this. But I am using now this credential, connect_pub. This is the user. And I will set here, it's a very interesting, I need to pause here. I will set here the local host. Take a look. I will use my machine has like a, you know, similar local host, and I will use in my port that I was opening here, you know, the 1717, right? And I will open in this port, in this case, another. So I am open in this another Docker, this port server, you know, this port in this case, to listening 3000, right? So this is a very interesting key, because as you can see here, I have 172.18.0.2. This is another machine, not the same, because that machine is the same range, but is 2000. Remember here, it's just a 2. It's not a gate in this case. It's a machine, right? So I am using this way, you know, this channel that we that I use in this pen testing. I using this way, this port, this channel, port 1717, to jumping. You know, I using this machine to jumping until this machine. I set here the wrong password, and here I use I love Docker, as I mentioned to you, right? So I set here the command, and here, as you can see, I have totally access the total interaction with this machine, right? In our victim machine, another network. So that is a technique that I will use in pivoting techniques. I will jumping to the another machine inside the different networks. Of course, it's possible because this machine 172.10 has a part of the network to access this environment. So I will using this VTman to access another machine, right? So this is the resume of this technique.
Hi.
Yes, let the next is a question. If you have any question, I am available to answer or something. But if you don't have time, no problem. For my side, it's okay. And yes, this is the technique. And if you have any question, you can send me by, you know, social media. No problem.
Felipe was a pen tester. How are the things you? What are the strange things, the stranger things you you have get while making a pen testing?
Uh, the stranger
The
things, the
most
huge
stranger
things.
things you found while making a pen testing?
Oh man, we find many things strange, but I think it's the main point is we found that the not stranger for my opinion it's very stranger, but we found many default password inside the platforms. It's so huge, because man, in security environment we talk about this. It's almost time a lot of time ago, and but it's again once again we find many similar passwords. I think it's another interesting point is some many times in the past when I did different POCs about the products, when I went to the customer and I installed the products to make a POC, right? The product of concept. And I think 3 months after, when I return to this company, I will make, like a best practice configuration in the tool. When I access this tool, I request to the guy, man, you can put in the password because I need to make some, review in the platform. It's works well or not. And the guy says me, oh yeah, yes, it's the same password that you put in the, in the POC. It's like, man, what's possible? You didn't change the password. So it's a very, unfortunately, it's so huge, but it's strange. But it's happened a lot yet.
Well, I have like a funny thing. When I was working in cybersecurity. We found a phishing, and in that phishing, we found we were triggering tools like Devaster, and we found in one directory the command and control of
Ooh,
the attackers.
oh, really?
Yeah, so we just downloaded it all. I don't know if I uh, could say that. Well, I really don't say anything about this going to be deleted.
Do you imagine, man, you access the environment? Oh, I found here this and it's CAC. It's very interesting. Yeah. It's very strange.
Well, we're having a little bit of problem with the hours of presentation because confusing between time zones. So we have like sometimes right now when we reschedule the following talk. If not, uh, so I don't know if you want to say anything more. Or we can pass to
No,
to
yes,
yeah.
just to once again, thanks for this opportunity.